To get started when you're ready.
Thank you so much, Heidi. Hi, everybody. We can go to next slide. A lot of people ask me why I wrote the book. When did I start it? The Sandwich Generation book idea happened probably 10 years ago when I was running a program. I had a, kind of important job, and my two children were high schooler and middle schooler, and I was taking care of so many of my family members that were older, sick. And I think for anybody, as you can hear from my accent, English is my second language. I came from Ukraine, but I think all of my ESL people will understand me when I'll say that if you're in healthcare and you're, English is second language for your family, and you're in healthcare, and it really doesn't matter if you're a dental hygienist or you're a physical therapist or anybody, then all of a sudden you become kind of improv, the designated caretaker for pretty much anybody that feel like their English is not good enough. So I became a caregiver really early on when I just started nursing school because everybody needed translation and doctor's visits. So anyway, so about 10 years ago, I'm in a meeting and I probably looked very tired or stressed out or whatever. And the woman on the other end of the camera asked me, and I shared with her kind of the struggles that I was going through. And she said, "Oh, you're a perfect sandwich generation." And I was like, English second language, like, come again. I've never heard that term before. She explained to me what it is. And it is really, is when you're taking care of two generations, your children, or it could be grandchildren, parents or grandparents. A lot of us in the sandwich generation also have jobs, and sometimes there are pretty demanding jobs because we're usually, when you're in the sandwich generation, you're like in your 40s or 50s. And that's, for a lot of people, it's like on top of their career. So it's basically when you're burning candles from both ends. And 9 years ago, when a majority of my people that I was taking care of passed away peacefully, and long time, everything's fine. Thank God my mom is young and healthy. I said I want to write a book. Like, I want to write a book about what it is that I would have liked to read when I was in that space of like tired, burnout, resentful. And so I wrote the book on Sandwich Generation. And one of the chapters, and I'll talk a little bit, obviously more about the book, but one of the chapters was on AI. And then every webinar, every podcast that I did, the minute people heard about AI, the chapter, they were like, "Oh, tell me more about AI." So I recognized the need. And at that time, there was nothing really written, although I feel like every day there's somebody's writing a book on AI. But I wrote this other book that's called AI Health Companion. And it's really designed to help anybody, whether for yourself or for anybody that you're taking care of, just giving more information on what AI is and what AI is not, how to trust it, when to verify, how to use it, how to protect your privacy. So a little shameless plug that I do have now two books, but definitely we're talking about Sandwich Generation. So we can go to the next slide here. Talked about rules already. Feel free to ask your questions, and I'll be answering them as I go along. And just always know that, right, I'm a nurse practitioner, so I do have to say this webinar is not intended as a medical advice, and really just use this information as, as an information purpose only. Thank you. So Rosalind Carter said something that really stuck with me, and I don't know if you've heard it or not, and it might be a surprise, but she said, there are only four kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. So I always say, whether or not you are in sandwich generation and you feel like you're that peanut butter and a jelly in between two generations, you have to learn about caregiving no matter what. And of course, the coordinating center, all we do is help caregivers and help patients. So this is not news to you. But for many people who are not taking care of somebody yet, like, they just need to know that you're going to be either caregiver or somebody will be caregiving for you. So it's important to understand and know the information. So, what is the Sandwich Generation? I already explained briefly, but I do want to say that there's growing body of knowledge that's coming out, which is very cool because I would say 5, 6 years ago, like nobody knew what Sandwich Generation was, and really neither Medicare nor other insurance companies ever discuss what the caregivers are and the burden. And in 2021, one of the researchers that came through said that nearly 25% of adults, and adults are everybody age of 18 or older, in the United States are part of what we now call the Sandwich Generation. So if you're not in Sandwich Generation, just think of 10 people that you know and know that about four of them are in that situation. And the issue is that when you are a caregiver, it's difficult, period. But when you're caregiving for multiple generations, it has its own caveats. And again, that's why I wrote the book. But I'm curious if you can put in the chat, why do you think the Sandwich Generation is growing? Is it A, because people are living longer, or one? Two, that our young adults or kids are taking longer to achieve full independence. And you probably heard, there's a lot of stories of, kids finish college and then come back and live with families because they can't find a job. Or is it three, both, that we are living longer and children are taking longer to achieve their full independence? Oh, I love, you guys are so smart. Everybody's answering the right. It's three, it's both. And I think this is why, again, the Sangre generation, this population is growing, is because we are being kind of pulled from both ends. One is, thank God, due to technology and medicine, our parents, grandparents, we are living longer in general. But also, I think it's almost unprecedented time where we have so many young adults who are not yet independent. Where I remember when I was 18, I remember everybody were like, oh, I can't wait for my kids to be 18 and kind of, kick them out of the house, it was a joke or whatever. But it was kind of almost expected, like you go to college and that's it, and you're on your own, right? And now again and again, and maybe due to pandemic and other things, a lot of people after college, they still live with their parents. So that's the answer, is both. Can go to next slide. So in my book, The Sandwich Generation, I divided it in 18 very short chapters. And I did this very strategically because I remembered when I was in the situation of being a Sandwich Generation, I was so tired and I felt constantly that I was running out of time, that I would have never sat down and read the book, the full book. So I did it in 18 chapters, kind of dividing almost everything that I could think of from my experience and my education of what people in Sandwich generations are dealing with. And so if you just needed to read 3 or 4 pages about maybe emotional and physical pressures that we're having, like it's right there. There's chapter on financial stressors, time management, how to delegate. It's broken down by such a short things, where obviously I remember when I was in that Sandwich generation, I couldn't have sat down and read the book. So one of the chapters is on emotional and physical pressure. And even though I do have it broken down later, but I want to say that it's almost impossible to just separate emotional pressure from physical pressure, because our emotional issues are manifesting in our physical bodies. So I want everybody to think about that as I said in my book, when I was in nursing school, many few decades ago, we were really taught to divide kind of neck and up. That's, psychiatry, psychology, that's emotions, unless there is some chemical disbalance. And neck down, it was all physical. So if if people had cancer, diabetes, anything, we always looked at, this is a physical disease, there's a physical component, we need to fix that. And then I would say 15, 20 years later, a lot of information came with, mind and body connection. And I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, of course, it is connected. We cannot, disconnect. But now I think with wisdom of more years and more practice and more of reading and understanding, I think it's almost impossible to say mind body connection because we don't say eye fingernail connection or hair knee connection, right? And that's how I think we should take care of ourselves, is to know that we are one organism and everything is connected. And with that, it's very important for us to learn how to take care of ourselves and how to make sure that we are understanding. And I hate to be to bring you something that you heard a million times, but I'll say it anyway. On the plane, they say put your mask first before you're helping anybody else, and we know that, we know why. But in real life, we forget to really understand that when we feel stressed out, when we feel resentful, when we feel tired, then it all ends up showing up as sleep disturbance, weakened immune system, high blood pressure, high heart rate. So it's very important to understand that you, as a caregiver, must schedule your own annual physical. I can't tell you how many years I did not do that because I always felt like I didn't have time. But again, if you're like, you have to understand that it's almost selfless when you do that, because when you're taking care of yourself, then you're able to help your people that you care for. But imagine if you don't do this, you don't do that, and then something happened, you become sick, then you become that other, almost, another plus something in the equation instead of helping somebody. So know that your health matter more than you think. Book one act of self-care each week and put it on your calendar. I always advocate for using calendars. We'll talk about that later, but you need to start protecting your time like you would if this was a doctor's appointment. So, whatever act of self care it is on a weekly basis, just know if it's a half an hour walk in the park by yourself, you schedule that and you protect that like it's a doctor's appointment. If it's a massage, it's a massage. If it's just like maybe for some people going shopping, right? TJ Maxx, retail therapy, and you know that that's what fuels you, you put it on your calendar and you protect it. And it's very important to review your eating habits and identify one change you can make today. And we are, as caregivers, a lot of times self neglect ourselves so much to the point where we want to make sure everybody else are fed, but then we'll just snack and eat some junk and drink something to help us, pick you up. But I always say, if you don't know anything about eating habits, and this webinar is not for it, just know, in my opinion, we all are dehydrated in general. Like, none of us drink enough, and we are 80% water. So if you can just up your water intake, and real water, not juices, not Pepsis, not coffee or tea, but just real water. If you can just add that one glass of water per day, and I can tell you, if you can see me, like, I have glasses of water and bottles of water everywhere that I sit. I have multiple desks at home. I have a nightstand. I see water. See, I'm going to talk the talk and walk the walk. I take a sip, because when you already feel thirsty, that means you're so dehydrated. It's almost like it's hard to get to the point of hydration. So when I see glass, I just drink. So just drink a little bit more water and you'll feel better. Eat a little bit more protein, and um, try to eat less sugars and less processed foods, and slowly you'll start feeling better. So I just wish that you understand how valuable you are as a caregiver, so you'll start taking care of yourself too. Next slide, Heidi. Time management is one of the things that I think all of us, and I don't think it matters if you are in Sandwich Generation, if you're a caregiver to one person, or even if you're not caregiver right now. I just feel like time is moving so fast that a lot of us feel that we're just running out. And as Michael Altshuler said, the bad news is time flies. The good news is you are the pilot. So remember that time management, it's an amazing tool to use to learn how to be more grounded and less stressed out. So, and it's all about creating a little space for you to breathe. So, what I like to do is I have this quadrant, and there's a lot of names to it, and I just call it, important and urgent table. If you can just take a piece of paper and really just kind of divide it in four and write important on up and urgent on the bottom, and it goes from, if you look at the one kind of like the red don't, it comes to this triangle that's not important and not urgent. So think about things like, what do I need to do today? And then think about today, tomorrow, and maybe a week, and write down the list. I need to pick up medication for my mom. I need to do the grocery shopping. I need to do the laundry. I need to schedule doctor's appointment. Oh, I forgot to schedule yearly eye exam. So just write everything that you can on the list, and then think about how to plug it in to these quadrants. And then that will tell you that things that you need to do right now are like, see that do first, really urgent and really important. So first might be, I don't know, pick up medication because it's due tomorrow. The next one on the left is schedule. So something that, okay, like maybe the doctor's appointment, put them on the schedule so you know that you have a week, let's say, to do it. Delegate, it's something that you need to, again, we'll talk about delegation in a little bit, but you can think about what are the things that you are doing there on your list that only you can do. And I can tell you, when you think about that and really think, is it only me that can do that? And take the ego out of the way, you'll probably realize that there's a lot that you don't have to do. You think that you have to do it. So those are going to be in delegation. And then don't do. And I don't mean don't do as in like forget about it, but it's like don't do today, maybe don't do tomorrow, don't do within the first month because it's not that important. And I thought about examples. It's hard, but maybe I don't know, like my daughter needs new shoes for her dance that's in 3 months. Like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'll put it on the list. I'll have it so I won't stress about it. But that will give you such a great framework on how to prioritize what you need to do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, and maybe delegate. So try to use this, and I can guarantee you that I had somebody text me who read the book, and they said, when I sat down and did my list, and really use the quadrant, like so many things fell off because I realized that it was just me trying to push through, but like these were not important or urgent. But in your mind, I think if you're going through the list, it's very hard to say which one is more important. So use this, and I hope that this will help you a lot. Next slide, Heidi. Um, I just want to add that in the book, every chapter has like what the problem is, right? So we'll talk about time management. How is it a problem? Maybe a little bit of statistics. Well, for every chapter, I have my personal story, and a lot of them are really funny. And I always say, when you're a caregiver, it's better to cry from laughter because otherwise you will actually cry because you're crying. So I think bringing humor is really important. So I have my, story, and some, a lot of them are really funny. And then I have a resources. And what I like about, again, why I thought about writing this book is I was thinking what it is that I needed to know, like right there and then, if I had 5 minutes and sit and read 3 pages, like, how can you help me? So one of the resources for time management, and I'm a huge proponent of like digital calendars. And right now, thank God, 2026, a lot of us are technologically savvy, but I don't know what I would do if I didn't have my like Outlook calendar or Google Calendar. So I would say if you've never used it, please just download the app or open your computer. In my book, I talk a little bit about how to do it, or ask anybody. But if you start using your calendar, what I do, which helps me a lot, is I color code my things. So because, if you use your calendar a lot, you can maybe open it and you'll see, oh my gosh, like my day is full of like all these things, meetings, appointments. But now I color code. And I know, for example, yellow is my daughter, so her dental appointment. Green, is my mom. Orange is my work. So you can like open up and at least visually kind of realize, what are these appointments linked to whom? And I always say, try to write your calendar at least 2 months, if not more, in advance, meaning that if you put all of your appointments in the digital calendar, A, you'll feel better because you know that they're captured somewhere. B, if you're scheduling something, 3 weeks from now, you open up your day and you'll see, oh, wait, I already have an appointment for this day. So I need to choose a different day. So I always say use it for as like block it in for as long as you can. And for example, when I have things that are recurrent, so let's say on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I take yoga at 5:30 to 6:30. There is a way on your digital calendar to make it recurrent, so you don't have to every week add that yoga. You make it once and you say it's every Tuesday and every Thursday from 5:30 to 6, and now it's magically on your calendar until the end of the year. And I love that. I call it my magic calendar because I don't have to think about it. And then there's a way to share your calendar with your family members. And so if you learn how to share it, then maybe you share it with your, brother or sister or whoever else that helps you take care of your loved one. And now they can see it too. And it's so much easier. Like my calendar is shared with my family members, my husband. And a lot of times, like, he will say, oh, you know, our daughter has an orthodontist appointment tomorrow. Who's going to bring her, you or me? And so it's good to share it. Automation. I'm a huge proponent of just automating everything. So I sat down once and through my Bank of America, and every bank has it. I just automate things that are, every month the same. Your apartment rent, your things that are like the same. You just automate, and it goes every month. You don't have to worry about it. I also did automated bill payment from my like BGE and telephone, like AT&T through my bank. And I'm telling you, it's so easy. Once you just do it, and it automatically bills. You just need to make sure you have money in the account. But it's great. Sometimes when I'm really busy and I can't do it, I do grocery deliveries, and you can do them on a weekly basis. You can also automate it. And I've learned to, for example, I use Amazon for like paper towels, toilet papers, napkins, things that I use, dishwasher fluid, things that I use on a monthly basis. I found what I like. I know the price. And there's a way to do it automatic shipment, like once a week, once a month, once every 3 months, however you want to do it. And it saved me so much time. I can't even tell you. So I'm a huge, huge proponent of automation. And for for the caregivers, please do the prescription refill automatic. And almost every pharmacy now does delivery, and they're free. So like that's my pet peeve. I'm like, if you're still going to the pharmacy to pick up medications, then this is yesterday's. Like today, everything is being delivered, or almost everything could be delivered, and it's free. And lastly, like time block. Really set aside blocks of time for you to rest, to do something. It's very important to schedule something for yourself, just for like the downtime, or let's just say, um, you know, you do laundry once a week, but every day, every week it's different days, whenever you can. I'm telling you, it's tiring. I think if you just block it off, let's say every Thursday from 3 to 4, I'm just making it up. That's my laundry time, and you put it on your calendar. A, it's going to help you be organized. B, it's protected time, so you're not going to schedule things like running to the stores or doing something for that time. And C, it's just, I'm telling you, it just the life becomes easier. So block the times for your caregiving work, for your rest, and know that you have to protect that. You have to protect it like you would protect any other appointment. Otherwise, it's gonna not work for you. Next slide, Heidi. So I don't know many people that do not have financial pressures when there are caregiving. And I feel like no matter, I mean, I talk to people who have, pretty, I mean, they're pretty wealthy and they still feel financial pressure because, we all are in different situations and it's hard to judge somebody else based on what they have. You can only kind of judge your situation, but financial pressure is real. And Ayn Rand said, money is only a tool. It will take you whenever you wish, but it will not replace you as the driver. So I wanted to empower you to think that there's a lot that you can do with, I would say, feel more empowered to know that there is a lot of resources available and a lot of caregivers are just not aware. And of course, the coordinating center is amazing. If you work with the coordinating center, your case manager has a lot of information. But I always say my job is to empower you personally as a caregiver, so you know. So always do a little bit of your homework. And I, for example, for myself, and I advocate this and I tell everybody, I use this website that's called findhelp.org. And this is free. You literally put in your zip code and you can check what help do you need with, financial, food, transportation, anything. You will be amazed at how much you can find. I literally had a person who needed more. She said she would love to have her mom more hours of just like a personal care, and she was not on the waiver program. They were, paying cash for people to come in and help her with, bathing and cooking. And we went together to findhelp.org. And in her zip code, there was $160 a month grant from, I honestly forgot. I don't think it was state. I think somebody were giving grant for personal care and kind of like no questions asked. She filled out an application and she got $160 a month help in personal care assistance that no insurance pays for it. And that's above and beyond of what you can get from, obviously, Medicaid and working with the coordinating center. You can see that there's a food pantry in the church next to you that you can walk to that, every Tuesday and Thursday has an open food pantry. I mean, there's so much. And I just think that as people in general, we are not aware of all the resources that are available. 211 is local, kind of findhelp.org, where I'm sure a lot of you can call and ask for anything that you need, and they can see if they have resources to match to you with. Um, I volunteered in Meals on Wheels for a while, just, helping to pack food. And I've learned, and remember, I've been doing this for decades. I've been a caregiver, I'm a nurse practitioner. I've always used Meals on Wheels as, well, I know that's a nonprofit that can help and, deliver meals to the patients in need. But apparently they have other services like they will, if you don't like meals, they will take you shopping once a week with the person. They'll drive you and help you shop and bring your the bags into the car, drive you home and help you unpack. I was like, whoa, that blew me away. And also they had a service where they would take you physically to your doctor's appointment and bring you back. So I would have never thought that Meals on Wheels does like a transportation help, right? But this is where I think the issue is that we don't know what maybe questions to ask, where to ask for help, and we assume that, okay, well, this company doesn't do that. But I always say the only answer you might get is a no, which is not a big deal if you ask. But if you don't ask, you're definitely not getting any help. So look at organizations. Alzheimer's Association, for example, has enormous amount of free resources to people that have dementia of any type, not just Alzheimer's. And it's very important to understand that just because you're struggling doesn't mean that somebody's going to recognize that, realize that, and come and help you. Like you need to be empowered to use your own tools and find help. I also suggest to schedule monthly money date, either with yourself, if it's just you by yourself, or with somebody that helps you with bills. But for example, my husband and I, we don't do this monthly. I'm going to be honest, but I think once every 3 months, we sit down and kind of go through all of our finances. And I'm always the one that initiates the meeting, but I always want to know, like, where do we have money? What, how, what do we need to save on? It's important to have that meeting to understand exactly where you are so you can be more prepared. Um, in terms of insurance, I have seen people that had long-term care insurance, for example, never using it because they forgot that they have it. They never give it to their kids, and kids are now financially strained and paying for a caregiver, where the long-term care insurance actually covers the caregiving. So I always say, ask whoever you're taking care of, or if it's you also, go through every policy, read what. Now again with AI, it's so easy. You can just download it and say, summarize, tell me what benefits I have. Do I have benefits for this or for that? But have it in a folder, go through it, review it, know what you have. And again, I think we're leaving millions of dollars on the table because a lot of us as caregivers are not aware that maybe our parents or grandparents have some sort of policy, some sort of insurances that covers something. Um, and also on the back of pretty much every health insurance card, there's, customer service line number. I always tell people, let's say you feel, and again, we're talking about the coordinating center, so you have amazing help. But if you don't, what about calling the health insurance and saying, I need somebody to help me kind of like with case management or with care coordination. You'll be surprised how many people are on the other line that are paid and trained to do that, but insurance companies not out there telling you like, hey, this is what we do. So you have to learn how to advocate for yourself. And if you're still working, there are so many things that employees are offering that we're just not aware of. That you can use FSH or HSA to help to, buy even medications for your people that you're taking care of. There are many companies that have benefits, not just FMLA, but other benefits for people that are struggling when they're caregiving. But the companies, the employers, are not necessarily advertising that to everybody. So you just have to call HR and be very honest and say, look, my mom is sick. I'm helping to take care of her. What do we have in terms of benefits for me? And you'll be surprised. Sometimes there's actually cash and money into the benefits tied up when you're caregiving. So know that the power is in your hands and you just need to use it. Next slide, please. Um, you have to start with yourself again, as I advocate and say all the time. To know thyself is the beginning of self-improvement. Socrates said that. So when we are caregivers, a lot of times we feel like, I don't have time to think about myself. I don't have time to realize where I am, what I do. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen caregivers that got so sick because they were so burned out. And it's really not, again, I always say it's not selfish to think about yourself. It's selfless because you need to be really healthy to help somebody else. So if you can go to next slide, I'll show you. I have multiple assessments that I do for myself. This one I love probably the most, and it's called battery self-assessment. So as you can see, I drew this myself. It doesn't look very clean and straight, I'm sorry, but think of it as literally as a battery. Divide the list on charges. This is something that I do that charges me, that helps me, right? You recharge your battery. And this is something that I do that drains me. And my personal story is, I remember I was earning my doctorate degree and taking care of, Sandwich Generation, working, kids, everybody. So many people were sick in my family. And I've learned about this battery self-assessment. I sat down and wrote the list of everything that I do, and I divided by what drains me and what charges me. So for example, I love cooking. Cooking is my self de-stressor. And I'm telling you, if I'm really stressed out, just give me potatoes to peel and I'll feel better, right? But for many people, cooking is a stressful situation. So food shopping, I like doing because that kind of gets me out of the house and I like it. Okay. Dishwashing, do not like it. Laundry, I do not like it. So I wrote this list and I sat my family down. And this is in my chapter of delegation and asking for help. And I became vulnerable, which is very unusual for somebody that is, I would say, as an immigrant and kind of overachiever, to tell somebody that, you're drowning, that takes a lot of guts. And I remember that it was very, very uncomfortable for me. And I sat them down and I said, guys, I need help with, and I just list everything that was in my drain list, right? I said, I need help with washing dishes, laundry, folding. It was like a lot of things that I did that I hated doing. And you'll be surprised, but there are, many things, some of my kids start doing, my husband. It's been, how long has it been? It's been 7 years since I graduated with my doctorate degree, and my husband still does laundry. And it's just one of the things that he actually enjoyed doing, which he didn't even know where our washer and dryer was. And the first time he did the laundry, I mean, it was, don't get me started. I'll talk about that later. But now it's been years. And I was like, I don't mind doing laundry. Like I have time. And he's like, no, I like it. It's my time. He brings his computer, he watches his soccer game when he does the laundry, and it's kind of became his thing. But if I didn't know about what helps me and what doesn't help me, and if I didn't know how to ask for help, I would have been stressful, resentful, tired, and everything would have continued. So my ask of you is just take a piece of paper, write a list of things that you do, and then coordinate them into what charges you and what drains you. And then next slide, Heidi. And then it leads to asking for help and delegating. Once you know what drains you, then you have to learn how to ask for help. And John Maxwell said delegation is not about losing control. It's about multiplying the impact. And I love that. I used to think that asking for help is losing control, is being weak, is being selfish. And then I've learned that, I mean, truly, when you ask for help or when you delegate, you're multiplying the impact of what it is that is being done. Because if you're one person that's trying to do everything and you have 10 tasks to do and you only were able to accomplish five, you didn't accomplish 10. But if you ask somebody else to help you and now between two of you, you accomplish all 10 tasks, oh my gosh, think about the person that you're taking care of. Like it's all done to benefit them. And I always say you have to learn and you have to be comfortable with letting go of perfectionism. Because when, as I told you, as my husband started doing laundry and it was like all over the place, and he messed up few really nice pieces of clothing that I had because he put red with white, whatever. I just had to take a deep breath and I say, you know what? I could have been doing that laundry for the past 2 hours and it would have been done better the way I think it would have been done, but I would have been more tired, more stressed out, more resentful. So is it better for me to take something that I think less than perfect, but it's done? Or is it better for me to do it? And every time I ask that question, 99% of the time, the answer was, oh, no, 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 no. It's better that somebody else does it. And you just slowly kind of move away from that. And, if I had to rewash a dish once in a while because it's not done right, it's fine. But I don't have to keep washing dishes every night thinking, oh my gosh, why am I doing this again? And I'm tired and nobody sees it. And we all think that people should be reading our minds. And then they need to learn when we need help. But if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. People don't read your mind. They don't know what you want. So you have to be very open. And remember that delegation is a learned skill and it does get easier with practice. First time, it feels super uncomfortable, super sad. You feel you're weak and out of control. And I hear you and I was there and it's fine. And then every time it just becomes easier and easier. Next slide, Heidi. Very important. I'll go this a little quicker because I'm afraid we're going to be running out of time. But very important framework that people don't talk about. It's called 4M of navigating care. And this is where it's a national framework, and it was designed for caregivers and for clinicians to work together. So 4M, number one, when you're dealing with anybody that you're taking care of, a young adult or an elderly patient, you have to ask them what matters to them. I've made so many mistakes in my life when I thought that I know what matters to them. And I can't tell you how sad I felt when I got older and I realized that, for example, I kept my grandfather alive because I loved him so much and I just wanted to have one more day with him. And I never had the conversation with him. Is that something that he would have liked? Is that something that he would have wanted? And so I'm a huge advocate of really asking, like my mom, as I said, is, young and healthy, but we had this conversation. I said, what matters to you? What's important to you? It helped me to help her with her power of attorney because for her, she said that she wants to do everything she can. She wants to live as much as she can while she's able to take care of herself. She said the minute I'm bed bound, like that's a no go. So she doesn't want to be intubated. She doesn't want to be in bed immobile. So now I understand her wishes and I know what to do when time comes. Second M is medication. Most of most of people in 65 and over are on what we call polypharmacy, which is more than 5 medications per day. I've have people that are on 17 medications, on 24 medications. I'm a huge proponent of de-prescribing. So if you're taking care of somebody that's older, I would actually schedule a doctor's visit or provide a visit just to talk about medications and say, this is my medications for my father. And when my father was in nursing home with end stage dementia, I was advocate of deprescribing majority of his medications because the medical directors, they're just kind of like, oh, you're doing well, just continue to take what you take. But you have to understand your person, and my father was end stage dementia. Every time he needed to take medication, it was a little bit of a fight with the nurse. And like when somebody is at the end stage of dementia, like in my opinion, they just don't need cholesterol medications, especially when their cholesterol is normal. They don't need blood pressure medication when their blood pressure is actually lower. So a lot of providers just won't look at it. So schedule that and talk about medications. Mentation, it's very important to regularly be screened for dementia, depression, and delirium. And Medicare pays for what's called cognitive assessment and care planning. That's an appointment that they paid for twice a year with the provider where there's no physical exam. You just bring your loved ones and they sit down and talk. They do tons of assessments, tons of tests, and then they can actually score them and say whether or not they're mild cognitive decline, whether they're in dementia, what stage of dementia. And then if you do this every 6 months or so, you can see the progression. So huge proponent of really getting that down. And mobility. Like movement is life. Again, I made a lot of mistakes. I used to bring my grandmother right to the door. She would come out of the car, wait for me. And then I've learned that walking and just mobility is life. We forgot that food is medicine, exercise is medicine. So now if I'm going with my mom, like I park as far away as I can. We walk together. So try to get your loved ones to walk more and to be more independent. And I just want to add my last one, which is not part of 4M, but like choose the right primary care provider. A lot of us feel like, oh, this is my doctor and I don't really like him or her, and I have to wait for 2 hours and they never give me time. But it is what it is. And I always say it is not what it is because you are the navigator of that car. You can choose any other provider that you like. And again, Google, find reviews, look at Reddit, like talk to your family and friends, but it's up to you. You can change your providers. And don't forget that you are the driver of that decision. Next slide. Communication. I've learned the hard way that the goal of communication is not to win, it's to understand. I think a lot of us, when we're caregiving and when we're in Sandwich, we need to be heard and we need to win every argument. So what helped me a lot, and I've learned this a while back, is to never ask a why question. Because if I'll ask Heidi why she doesn't like my lipstick, now she's going to be defensive, and now she'll need to think about how to defend her point of view. But if I'll say, Heidi, what about my lipstick that you don't like? Then she doesn't feel defensive. She can just express her feelings about it. So I try my hardest, and I think I'm pretty successful in it now that I've been doing this for years. Is every time I want to say why, I kind of stop myself and I switched it to how or what. So just know that that's just psychology. And I know a lot of us just want to quickly, like, Heidi, why? But just know it's like a red thing for the bulls. So don't ask why question. Very important to choose a good time and setting for hard conversation. I can tell you, for example, that when my father, had beginning of dementia, so he was still kind of competent, but I needed to help him understand that he shouldn't be driving. I learned number one, he loved food. So food is his love language. And I knew that anytime I needed to have a really difficult conversation, is it had to be after he's fed very well. So we had a really good lunch. And I chose to talk to him in a restaurant. I took him to the restaurant because I knew that there he couldn't be so angry because he was kind of careful about like what the other people think about him. So like be strategic. Think about where and when and what time do you want to have that conversation. And I always say there's nothing so urgent that will uh, I think the words I'm looking for is if you feel like it has to be an urgent conversation today and it's not a right time or setting, it's gonna go crazy and everybody's gonna be upset. So nothing is probably that urgent that cannot wait another day or another day until you find that good time and place to have that conversation. And take a slow deep breath before you respond. This is something that Viktor Frankl said in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. He said, between the stimulus and your response, there is a pause. And in that pause lies your freedom. So think about stimulus. Somebody said something. I said, Heidi, why don't you like my lipstick? And now she has a little bit of time before her response. So if she'll take a deep breath and collect her thoughts, she will most likely not going to be as aggressive if she didn't. So always know that your freedom lies in that a little bit of that pause. So take a deep breath. It helps you to just kind of ground yourself and maybe not go as much as you want. And something, again, English second language that I've learned, I want to say probably 25 years ago, and it blew my mind. They said, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you should talk. And that was like a revelation to me. So I always try to remind myself, this is not a good indication of that because this is a webinar and I'm doing my own solo conversation. But I always try to remind myself that I should aim to listen more than I should talk. Thanks, Heidi. Sorry to picking on you. Okay, so AI for caregivers, really quickly. In the chapter of the book and in my other book, AI for Caregivers, I go over things that you can do to help you to caregiver. I'm not advocating for any specific AI platform. I'm not saying use ChatGPT or Gemini. I'm explaining how they work, and they all work very similar. I talk about how to make folders or projects for every person. So, for example, I literally have a project on my AI that's called webinar. So every time I I do webinars, I go there, and in there I, introduce myself. I say what kind of webinars I do, so I don't have to keep telling the same story. I teach about knowing that you have to learn to protect your privacy. And I made a mistake too. This is my computer. I used AI platform that I paid for, so I thought it's my information, and I uploaded my laboratory study to help AI kind of make sense of it. And then I realized that it's almost like me faxing my lab results to like 100 different random people because that information does not belong to you. And if it's stolen, it goes everywhere. So I now take a black marker and I just, black out my date of birth, my social security, whatever the information is there that I don't want people to know, my name, and then I upload it. So I teach about that. And there are many different tricks and tips that I talk about it. And again, I'll be very happy to share that all with you, free. But I just want to say, if you want to read the book, it's all there. If not, just know that there are settings in every AI platform that comes in already set as go. and it says that you are allowing AI platform to take your information for their learning purposes, which means that everything that you say in that AI platform goes to, let's say, if it's ChatGPT, to open AI. So and then you can click on that button and say no for sharing. And now I can't promise you, I don't know for sure, but hopefully, if they believe in ethical and legal duties, then hopefully that information is not going to go anywhere. So AI is my best friend right now in helping me track everything: medications, labs, understand bills. I had a little skin biopsy and it was done multiple times, and my bill is up to like $5,000 now from different. So, but like I uploaded everything and I was like, check for duplication, check what I can, if I should pay, check if if I can dispute something. But it's amazing, amazing. Next slide. And lastly, I just want to say you have to try and find meaning and peace in what it is you do, because caregiving is not just like set skills or tasks that you do. It's truly an act of love that connects us to hopefully something larger. And I can say that I think until I found a little almost like a spiritual component to what I was doing. And spirituality is not religion, it's not, it's just something that tells you that then maybe there is a bigger meaning. Maybe there's something bigger that connects us all. Maybe there's something that you can see that unites us. And it just makes you feel a little better. And I think that it helps you understand that, hopefully there is something bigger than just like you caregiving for your, loved ones. And what helped me in terms of spirituality is that I think I was waiting for that thank you all the time and being recognized and being acknowledged. And it's really difficult. I mean, I have one of my stories, like when I was feeding my father, and I said, "Does your daughter come and see you?" And he said, "No, she never does. But my son comes." And his son was out of country. And I just started laughing, right? But if I was not in that space, I would feel really resentful and upset and maybe even pissed. But I think spirituality helps to see that there's something bigger, that there's different meaning, and then it helps you maybe not look for that gratitude and that thank you, because it might never come. And I know we're almost out of time, so I think I want to stop with that and tell you that no matter what you do, you are amazing, and you know that you are part of millions of people that are caregivers. We're all on the same huge boat, but everybody has different issues, different struggles, different things that they're working on. And my goal is just to help you, maybe even teeny bit. Maybe you got a little word or something that it's a seed that was planted that will help you just feel a little better or take care of yourself a little better. And that's what I'm here for. And on the next slide, I think I have a QR code if you want to go to my website and see, my books. If you email me, that's my email address. I will be happy to just email you my free book, the PDF. And my goal is to just help as many people as I can. So now I'm going to come up for air and answer any questions you might have.
I also just added the website and Amazon links and your email to the chat as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Heidi, do we have any questions?
Really no questions. So I didn't want to I didn't want you to I wanted you to keep going because I was
Yeah,
learning so much. So thank you for
thank you.
sharing with us.
Thank you. Oh,
You're welcome.
Cassandra loves cooking too. I love that. Yeah. And see, I know a lot of my friends who like cooking is their stressor, like they hate
Oh,
cooking. So that's why you have to understand what fills you up and what drains you.
I love cooking too. My husband's
Yeah.
like, let's go out. I'm like, but I actually want to cook. Like,
Right. Yeah. 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 I always say like power, like knowledge is power, and know yourself, like know thyself, what Socrates says. That's a first step. And how many of us, especially when we're caregiving, we just don't give ourselves time or space to even think about ourselves. But if you don't know yourself, you can't improve.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Everyone, you're welcome to unmute or add a question to the chat. We have a couple more minutes here. And I feel like when you're learning yourself, that's such an exciting skill set. Like you're like, oh, I like this, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I can put up with this.
Yeah. It could also be scary, Heidi, because I think I can just say for myself, like becoming kind of getting on that spiritual journey and learning myself could be a very painful process because all of a sudden you're 45 or you're 50 and you just recognize something about yourself that you never thought about before. And now you're like, oh my gosh, like, does it mean that for the past 45 years, I was doing this? And so you just need to be aware that it could be a painful process, but it's also liberating because it's almost like getting that, um, if you have that little wound that you just keep covering up, but then like cleaning it, it's painful, right? But then hopefully it heals. So that's my 2 cents.
And
Yeah,
Nancy comment.
Nancy. Yeah, there's a chapter on communication. Again, I'll be happy to, if you want to email me, talk to you, help you with anything I can. I'm not a communication expert, but this came from, decades of experience as a nurse practitioner, as a caregiver, as somebody who's learned and were taught. So I'll be very happy to share my information with you.
I think one of your first notes were like to bookmark that time for yourself is important. Because when I think about caretaking, I think of the exhaustion that you end up getting. Like it
Yeah,
just happens because you're just constantly taking care of someone else and you get overwhelmed and tired. Even though you
yeah,
can do it and you want to do it, it's just making sure that I'm going to go do this for myself.
yeah, yeah. It's so important. So important. All
All right.
right.
Well, thank
Well, looks like
you
there's no
so much.
questions.
Yeah,
Thank you for
perfect.
positive feedback. I appreciate it. It's very hard to kind of look at the dark screen and talk. So hopefully a lot of you got at least something out of it.
Oh no,
Thank you.
you were brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing. And I was sitting through this. I was like, man, there's so many people I could share this with that I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
who do I need to buy this book for?
yeah,
Like, it was just
yeah.
so good. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
And Heidi, maybe we'll do one more on just AI. I think
I
people would
would
find
love
it
that.
very beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.